Hey, this is Tuesday, October 26th, and I'm looking forward to November 20th when we have our men's program. And I have this film that an actor made where he portrays Joseph on stage, and he's no longer performing the work, but he is making the tape available for free. And so we're going to watch it. And he did about 8 months research in writing the play and then acting in a play that he wrote. And Mark Price is his name. He's done a number of other productions on the Apostles, but he was convinced to do one on Joseph, and we're going to look at that. And so he did his own research, and I don't think he was looking at books written in the 1880s so much as I've been looking at this week. But I looked at that book because it goes back to the time 150 years ago when they decided to honor Joseph, make him patron of the Universal Church. And so that this book that I've been looking at recognizes that. And that's why 150 years later, we have this year of St. Joseph that Pope Francis is named, okay? All right, let's get to Mary and Joseph. And before we go back to looking at that old-fashioned book, I'd like to just get into modern things and talk about a play that's on video that by a modern person that's written the play and his take on Joseph. We'll talk about that first before we get back into the old book. Okay, so I'm going to go outside on my porch. Hopefully we'll be able to film out there. Now, my neighbors aren't cooperating too much because I have somebody grinding up some tree branches over on the property nearby. Hopefully that's not too loud or disturbing to our program. There's a film coming out for the men that are going to be watching it, and the actor is an evangelist, and he is decided to study St. Joseph like I've been doing for like months and months, and he made some educated guesses like I do about Joseph and Mary, and his guess is that Joseph moved to Nazareth and Mary moved to Nazareth when they were young. So Joseph BC, Mary BC would be in Nazareth, and that their parents would have known each other. At least we know Jacob is alive for Joseph and Anna and Joachim for Mary, and that they would have known each other in Nazareth, grown up and met each other, and probably grew into a great spiritual appreciation for each other. So that's how he has the two meet each other, and that's how that actor, Mark Price, has determined that Mary and Joseph would get betrothed, and he sees the parents setting up that betrothal. For me, I see Mary in the temple from other things I've read, and Mary working in the temple close to her priestly relatives there in Jerusalem. So I see Mary as a girl living in Jerusalem at least from like 7 years old to about 12 as a servant, a special kind of a servant, helping the priests in the temple. So that takes Mary away from Nazareth for a number of years. But it would still work in that Mary and Joseph could have known each other in time when they were young. According to this Joseph book that I've been reading, it's written, it's in tan books from 1888 and reprinted for modern times, and kind of put into some more understandable English. Still, it's an interesting book, and it sees Joseph as given a special grace, special blessing from heaven, that God knows he's picked Joseph out for becoming this father figure for Jesus, and Mary is pre-picked out. And so it has this mystery and aura going on between Joseph and Mary and in their families, and a special life of prayer that they shared, probably in the same synagogue, under the same rabbi. And so it led me to look at Psalm 48. This is my own thing here, not out of the book. And just imagine Joseph seeing this woman who represents Israel at her best. This woman who just lives out the faith so wondrously. And as she lives it out wondrously, she is the response Israel is always supposed to have to the Lord. Israel is supposed to be the spouse to God. Israel is supposed to love and be the faithful one to God. But they haven't been. But Mary, in contrast, has been totally steadfast and faithful to God. As long as Joseph's seen and know her. And let's just say he's known her since she was a little girl. I think Mary, in turn, noticed some things about Joseph that were unusually blessed. And so, soul to soul, they probably had this fondness for each other. I know that there's lots of stories of people who were boy and girl and had a special relationship with each other. Later, they would get married. I'm not sure Joseph and Mary had that intention to get married. We have this idea they both were thinking of the single life, even in contrast to the way things were in Israel. But God has his plans, and they're willing to live in the plans of God. So in those plans of God, I think Psalm 45 is fascinating. If you look at as Joseph looking at Mary as a person who's so holy and righteous and blessed, and that she is so good for God as a match. And then, in a secondary way, think of how Joseph is thinking about how a match made in heaven is Mary to him, just because she loves God so much, and that's what Joseph's top priority is. If he were to marry, is he wants someone that loves God that much. But even if Joseph is in a brother to sister relationship with Mary, and that's the plan, he still wants to be with her. And Psalm 45 says this: "You love righteousness and hate wickedness. Therefore God your God has set you above your companions." And you just listen to Psalm 45 and you say, Mary is set above her companions. Mary loves righteousness, right? And so God has done something in choosing Mary. Okay, the next verse out of Psalm 45. "Set you above by anointing you with an oil of joy. All your robes are fragrant with myrrh and aloes and cassia, from palaces adorned with ivory. The music of the strings make you glad." So Mary is, in her Magnificat, talks about being in joy, that her soul is in joy. So she fulfills Psalm 45. And in the palaces, she serves in the temple, my theory, that she worked in the temple from a lot of things I've read. So she is in the Lord's house, okay? The music of strings makes you glad. Well, from King David's time, they would try to have stringed instruments and things like the Psalms sung in the temple by the Jews. Strings makes her glad. And even this Psalm 45, she would have heard sung with strings in the highest of liturgies. The next verse, it says, "Daughters of kings are among your honored women. At your right hand is the royal bride in gold of Ophir. Listen, daughter, and pay careful attention. Forget your people and your father's house. Let the king be enthralled by your beauty." So the daughters of kings, so Mary comes from the line of David, okay? Joseph comes from the line of David. So she's a daughter of royalty, okay? The royal bride. So we see Mary as the Queen of Heaven, We see Mary as the temple, the new temple of the Lord. So the Lord is housed in her. And so she's the honored woman. Psalm 45 talks about honored women. She is the honored woman. Blessed are you among women. Blessed is the fruit of your womb, O Mary. Just that Mary's father died, okay, Joachim, and so it's the interest of Anna, since Mary is of age, teenager now, able to bear life, a woman, that she would get married, or that she'd be in, at least in the protection of the man. So this is the setup, I think, with Joseph. Okay, but forget your people. Okay, so she has to leave, and now it says, "Let the king be enthralled by your beauty." I think the king is the king of all in the psalm, the great king over all, our Lord. He's enthralled with Mary. He's enthralled with the Blessed Mother. He's gonna come into the world and bear flesh through Mary's flesh that God himself has made. He's going to bear flesh of her. And so the next line, honor him, for he is your Lord. The city of Tyre will come with a gift. The people of wealth will seek your favor. So here's Joseph again, and I think she honors him, the Lord, and he loves her for it because he honors the Lord. And the two of them are drawn together because of that love going up. You know, in marriage, that we often have that triangle that the two can love one another, and they can love one another much closer if they seek the Lord, that they seek to come together in the Lord. Then the Lord unites them and makes them one flesh. I think this is the mystery of man and woman, and from the Genesis model, the Trinity model. So I think Joseph then, he sees that they live in honor when they're together. But of course Mary's main affection though is to honor the Lord, and that's the way it should be in a marriage. You should be loving a spouse who loves the Lord first. It says people of wealth will seek your favor. So in the end, the Christmas story, we have the people of wealth coming to see the Christ child, and that would be seeking favor and seeking a blessing from Our Lady who's holding the child, and Joseph, the one who is the father. Dressed up as a golden queen. Okay, Psalm 45 says the queen stands at your right hand arrayed in gold. Well, now the image of Our Lady is this queen in the heavens, and we see her holding the Christ child, or standing as the Queen of Heaven, and also the mother of the church, who sometimes has an apparition to the church. So it says, all glorious is the princess within her chamber. Her gown is interwoven with gold. In embroidered garments she is led to the king. I was reminded earlier in October that we had the Tilma replica here in our church for a few days, and some religious sisters embroidered a replica of the poncho tilma that Our Lady of Guadalupe appeared on for Juan Diego. His garment was now turned into artwork for the world to see for 500 years. But the sisters have made a replica that can travel, and they embroidered things in gold, and it was quite an amazing thing. An embroidered garment she's led to the king. Yes, an embroidered honor by these Mexican sisters speak of the woman who is led and leads us to the King of Kings, leads us to the Lord. Our Lady of Guadalupe, a Lady of the Americas. She is led to the King. Psalm 45 continues. Her virgin companions follow her, those brought to be with her, led in with joy and gladness. To be children of Mary, we are also being led to be children of the Lord forever. She is our Blessed Mother, But the Lord is King of all. The Lord is Lord. And we can be children of God. And that is our hope, that even now in our baptism and our practice of faith, we're living as children of God. The ends are the palace of the King, Psalm 45. I will perpetuate this memory through all generations. All the nations will praise you forever and ever. Hear the connection at the end of Psalm 45 again with today. Do you hear it? Well, we got to stop a while, but we're going to keep going with this Joseph BC and AD theme. And of course, everything related to Mary is related to Joseph. They are a team. This is Father Barry. Good day.